I would reject compliments. I would reject compliments. I would, reject even the relationship that I was in at the time. So I'm going to show you really quick a little bit of like what I looked like. So in my journey, I lost over 50 pounds. Right now, that girl on the left, she was so sad. And the girl to the right, this was like 2 years ago. I'm not even that skinny anymore. But during that time frame and during that process and during that understanding, and it's so much more to what I looked like on the outside. At that point, it was what was going on the inside, right? What was going on the inside was like depressive, it was anxiety, it was, and even things that I go through now, I still battle with, my body figure at times, but there are things that I'm working towards. Right. And I know that the highest version of me, I'm working to getting to her. I know that there's only a matter of time where I am that version of me. Understand, guys, is that person that you admire, that person that you want to be so bad, that person that you envision, that's just your higher self. That's your higher self wanting you to get closer to being that version of you. Right. So for me, I'm actually 16. Today, we're in August 18th. Right. And I promised myself something because see how I told you guys that 2 weeks ago, I was in a deep, dark hole, right? To beginning of August 1st, I decided to make a commitment to myself that I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out because the gym does so much more for me than just what it does for my body. It's what it does to my mindset. And I've been working on my mindset and building up that strength. When I work on my body at the gym, I'm really working on more so my soul and strengthening my soul, because every single workout, it's not me. I ask God to be with me, to strengthen me, to push me to go an extra rep, to go an extra heavier weight, right? And it's August 18th. I can happily say that I've worked out 16 out of 18 days within the month of August so far. And I'm going for 29 out of 31, right? And for me, this isn't even about, if you follow me on social media, you wouldn't even know, because at this point it's gotten way past of, oh, let me hold myself accountable to show social media that I'm doing this. And there's nothing wrong with it. But for me, it was like, I need to do this for me. I don't care who sees what's going on. I don't care, but if I'm showing a level of consistency, I need to do this for me. And I need to know that, to show myself that I can do it, right? And only that, when you do that, that builds up your confidence. When you say, there's nothing more powerful than when you say you're going to do something and you do it. And understand is that the level, my confidence started to go down, right? When I started to tell myself that I was going to do something and I wasn't doing it, right? I really started to dive deep into self-love and understanding what self-love actually means. And I don't know if anybody on this call has ever experienced this thing, but imposter syndrome, right? This is something that I myself have really struggled with. It's something that within the past, even, and I'm going to speak on this now because within the past 2 weeks, I felt like I was dealing with imposter syndrome. So I really just started to look it up. And if you know me, like, I'm going to Google and I'm going to research. And once I dive into something, I'm going to want to get down to the bottom of it, because I have seen something and I'm like, wait, that sounds like me. Right? So I really started to dive deep into what is imposter syndrome, right? And it's loosely defined as doubting your abilities, feeling like a fraud, right? It's affected, it goes highly with people. It affects people who are high achieving people, right? They find it difficult to believe in their accomplishments. Many question to even if they're deserving of these accolades. And I don't know if that's happened to any of you guys, right? But it feels, you start to feel like there's a conflict between your own self-perception and the way that people view you. I talked to, there's one thing that I've heard in this business is don't ever always complain up, right? Like, some of my best friends are some of my top leaders, and they do not know anything that I was going through. They do not know that I was even in this type of dark hole. They probably knew like a little bit of like just so they can understand why I'm a little bit quiet or what it is that I'm going through. But the two people that I spoke to are my mentors. My two people are Darwin and Natalia. And I literally just let it out. I make sure that when you guys are going through something, because for me, I've always been like, okay, I'm not gonna talk about any of what it is that I'm going through. I'm gonna figure it out. I've always been the type of person to just journal because, it's really true when a lot of the times when you go to your so-called friends, they're actually some of them could be happy for the fact that you're even going through that. Right? Some of them are not even really like they for me, it's like, and I spoke about this last night, is I don't want the opinions of other people. Because when you go to someone for their opinion on what it is that you're going through, in a sense, you're getting that person's fears, plus that person's values, plus that person's insecurities, plus that person's traumas, all of that, which is going to equal their opinion. So where do you lie in all that? So when I went to my mentors and I expressed to them what it is that I was like, in a sense, at this time, I didn't know it was like imposter syndrome, but I, in a sense, found it helpful, right? Because in a sense, like I was starting to feel like, okay, I'm going through all of these things and my team sees me as the most they see me as a strong, powerful woman, right? And for me, it's like, I never want to taint the image of that or anything like that, but it came to a point where it was just like, okay, we need to get down to what's going on with you, right? And I'm being super vulnerable on this call with letting you guys know what it is that that I was growing through. And this is so recent, which is why I'm talking on it. It's so recent. It's like literally within, from July onto even a week to 2 weeks ago. And the reason why I'm going to talk about it is for a simple fact, and I want to express on how I've been able to work myself out of those things, right? The gym being one. It's not only like brought up my confidence, but it's me showing up for me. It's me doing something for me, right? Self-love is actually you showing up for yourself in the things like how can you pour into someone else's cup? How can you, give someone the guidance? How can you lead someone else if you're not even leading yourself? And so for me is I always like to lead by example, even when it comes to, building the business, when it comes to trading, when it comes to all of these things, when it comes to, even over leveraging. I was finding myself that I was over leveraging, blowing accounts, right? Going through all these financial problems. And in a sense, it's like I wasn't really doing the things and showing up to the highest version of myself. So yeah, it's not really imposter syndrome because I am a great trader. I am a great leader, right? But was I truly showing up to that level? And in a sense, it started to kind of mess with my mind. Like, am I really capable of leading a couple hundred people? Am I really capable of being able to do this? Am I really a good trader? And yes, Katie, you are a great trader. If I was to show you guys, hold on 1 second. And the thing is that I blow my mind away, right? The minute that I start to disconnect. So my trade is actually 5,000. Okay, so I have a trade right now that's like almost 200 pips in profit. But I sniped it at the very bottom, and it's just like the more that I've been getting rid of these limiting beliefs, guys, understand is that the limiting beliefs are the things that are holding you back. And a lot of you guys can be experiencing imposter syndrome, right? I hold myself to such a high standard, right? I feel like even as sometimes people are going to praise, this is what I've come to the conclusion when it comes to imposter syndrome, right? It's that even as others praise your talent, right? You're going to write off your success as thinking it's just timing or good luck. You're not going to believe that you earned it on your own, right? You're going to fear that others are going to realize that same thing. That's what imposter syndrome is. And it's been me within these past couple of months digging myself out of that, understanding that I am worthy of these things. I've worked my butt off for these things, right? And so the work that you put in, right? It's gonna, if you have imposter syndrome, the work that you put in, you're gonna feel like you're gonna feel guilty of things that aren't even real, right? You're gonna feel like you lack intelligence, which I had to really sit down and ask myself, do you lack intelligence? And absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm so smart, right? But the thing is that a lot of the times, right, we live in a constant fear of discovery, right? We're striving for perfection within everything that we do. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm such a perfectionist. And there's actually this book, I want you guys to write this down. And I actually wrote it down for you guys because it's for, especially since this is a woman's call, it's actually called The Secret Thought of Successful Women, right? And why culpable people suffer from imposter syndrome and how to thrive off of it, right? So I started to look into this book, and there's 5 different types of, the 5 types of imposter syndrome, right? So the first type is the perfectionist, right? Which is this type, if you're a perfectionist, you're focused on how you do things, often to the point you demand perfection of yourself in every aspect of life, right? Yet since perfection isn't always a realistic goal, you can't meet these standards. And instead, right, instead of acknowledging the hard work that you've put in after completing these tasks, you might, in a sense, start criticizing yourself for the small mistakes or feel ashamed of failure. You might even try to avoid new things because you can't believe that you can do it perfectly on time. And if there is one thing, is that that's what I struggle with, right? Even when it came down to doing my YouTube, I was such a perfectionist when it comes to that. But I've started to realize is that perfectionism is actually my biggest weakness. It's holding me back from doing a lot of things because it's progression over perfection, right? And so I started to like really sit down and be like, okay, this sounds about right, right? This sounds about right. This is why, sometimes we don't show up in front of a camera and turn on that camera because we're striving for perfection. And it's so funny that Julie says, like, you look like you have it all figured out and everything's so perfect and everything. But it's because I'm such a perfectionist that sometimes, like, for me, I would love nothing more than to be vulnerable. I would love nothing more than to open up and to, to express to you guys the things that make me, right? But that's something that I'm working on, and I'm so happy that I get to do that on this call. So the second type of imposter syndrome is the natural genius, where you pretty much have spent your life picking up new skills with little effort, and you believe that you should understand new material but like understand it right away. So these are for my people who trade. These are for my people who build a business, who feel like, okay, I am really good at building the business. I'm really good at, trading, and I got this down pat, right? And then the minute that things go wrong, right? If something doesn't come off as easily to you, you fail to succeed or even if you fail to succeed on your first try, you kind of feel ashamed or embarrassed. So I don't know how many of you guys are the natural genius in here. Now, the third type is the rugged individualist, right? Which means that you believe that you should be able to handle everything solo. This is the soloist, right? If you can't achieve success independently, then you consider yourself unworthy. Asking someone for help or accepting support when it's offered, it doesn't just mean like you're failing at your own high standards. It also means that the inadequacies that you have within yourself, you're showing yourself as a failure. So in a sense, you think that you got this all down packed and you got this all on my own, and I don't need nobody. But understand, something that Bob Proctor has taught me is that teams, right, together, when they're working together, you're creating. Together, you create. If you're not creating, you're disintegrating. So you need to come together. You need to work with. You cannot do everything on your own. And I've struggled with that myself. Like, well, no one can do it the way that I do it, so I'm just going to get this job done by myself. But no, right? It's going to be a lot harder. to get up to that mountaintop, going up there by yourself, as opposed to, let's say you're pulling up a tire. How much easier is it going to be if you have a whole team of people helping you pull up that tire up to the top, or just you by yourself doing it? Think about that. So that's the same when it comes to trading. That's the same when it comes to building the business. You cannot understand that. You cannot, for me, I cannot, there's no way that I can hit P5 by myself. Yeah, a lot of you may be able to hit P150 by yourself and P600 by yourself, maybe even P1000. P2000, P5000, chairman, you need to work with other people. You need to work as a team. You need to work. You cannot be a socialist, right? So that could be something that you, in a sense, might experience. Now, the third type is the expert. So before you even consider your work or a success or anything like that, you want to learn everything that you need to know about the topic. You might spend so much time, right, in pursuing your quest for more information that you end up having to devote more time to maintain your task. Because you believe that you should have all the answers. You might consider yourself a fraud or a failure when you can't answer a question. This is for my people who try to do, think that they got the 6-question close down packed and they're trying to close people out on themselves. Meanwhile, you haven't even sat through a close yourself. So within these things, right, this is what, within the expert, right, believing that you have all the answers, you're within the minute that you feel like you don't have them, you're going to automatically tend to consider yourself a failure, a fraud, when you can answer that, when you can encounter some knowledge that you previously missed, right? Now, the last type is the superhero, right? You link the competence to your ability to succeed in every role that you hold, right? Such as the student, the friend, the employee, the parent, right? Failing to successfully navigate the demands of these roles to succeed, in your opinion, is going to create inadequacy for yourself, right? Still, even at this maximum effort, you may not resolve your imposter feelings. You might think, I should be able to do more. This should be a lot easier. And understand is that these 5 things that I just mentioned, these are going to be your biggest enemies in life if you're experiencing any of these. So start really trying to analyze, like, do I suffer from one of these? Superhero, it's the superhero, right? So in a sense, you link your competence to your ability to succeed in every single role that you hold, whether it's being a student, being a friend, an employee, a parent. Failing to successfully navigate these demands of these roles simply proves, in your opinion, that you're inadequate. So understand is that these things, right, they come from, there's no single clear cause of imposter feelings, rather than a number of factors that can trigger them. So a lot of these things, and if you were on my call yesterday, I talked about your subconscious and how we are programmed from the age of 0, from when we're born till we're 7. Things are going constantly in our subconscious mind. And who we are has a lot to do with what we were watching, what we were being told. I was told that I was fat. I was told that my body was shaped like the letter S, that my butt would stick out and my stomach would stick out. I'll put down the book in here. I was told a lot of these things, right, growing up. I was bullied in school. I had like a little mustache when I was younger. They would write these things on the school walls, in the bathroom walls, where I would go into the bathroom and I would see, like, Kathy has a mustache, Kathy's ugly, Kathy's this, and I I think that I hate that name, right? I hate the name Kathy, but I was really bullied in school. I was actually jumped in college by 6 girls, had my teeth knocked out, was put into a CAT scan. I was on the floor facing the cement and they were punching my face into the cement, right? Because in our age of society, instead of fixing another woman's crown were actually knocking it off. So it was 6 girls beating me. They all 6 got arrested, right? But it was 6 girls, all for the simple fact of me walking into a bar and a girl simply not liking the way that I looked at her. Right? So I've had a lot of healing to do when it comes to being outspoken, when it comes to, even entering rooms, things, walking into places with a lot of people. That was something that I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, right? It was something that caused me a lot of anxiety. Speaking up for myself became something that I started to walk on eggshells, right? Because I was scared, hey, if I speak up for myself, I'm going to end up getting jumped, right? So these are things that I had a throat chakra blockages. If anyone knows anything about blockages within your chakras, I had a huge blockage within my throat chakra, huge blockage within my sacral chakra, which is your chakra for creating. So what did I do? I started to really dive deep into what were the things that were blocking me and how to unblock them, how to blossom like a flower, right? And so I started dancing. I created a YouTube video. I was showing last night calls, but like if you were to go to my first video on YouTube, I was so like the posture is completely different from my latest videos. So I want you guys to understand is that I've not always been, the person that you guys are seeing. And I don't have everything figured out. My life isn't far from perfect. I'm figuring it all out just as much as you guys. But what thing that is working to my advantage, the main thing that's working to my advantage, and what Neno talks about all the time, is my morning routine, me reading, me diving deep into things that understanding my mindset, why it's working the way it works. Why do I have certain insecurities? Why is my paradigm a different way? Why do I have these limiting beliefs? What's blocking me? Truly understand and get to know you and what makes you you. A lot of the time, we don't sit down and take the time to understand anything about us. We can sit here and have a full conversation, jump on Nano's calls, jump on this call, jump on that call. But are you truly taking the time to even get to know you and what makes you you? What makes you uniquely special? Each and every single one of you have something that make you all special. Stop putting people on pedestals. There's one thing that I've learned is I don't put nobody on a pedestal. Everyone's at an equal. Yes, we can respect people. Yes, we can, admire people's gifts and everything like that. But that same thing that you admire and you're so obsessed about within that person, you have that within you too. You just have to work that level of ability up. Right? Each and every single one of you have something so uniquely special within you that makes you you, that you don't even know yet because you haven't taken the time to understand you yet. So that's what imposter syndrome and understanding me and understanding truly that I am God's highest form of creation, right? Another quote that I've spoken about is God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we can ever imagine in this lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of that gift and ability as we can in this lifetime. How many of you are actively working on developing that gift and that ability that God's given you? Or are you sitting all there all day scrolling on social media? Like, how disrespectful is that to God, that he's giving you all of these gifts and you're not doing shit with it? And I'm sorry for my language, but how for me, it's like that's what drives me. That's what gets me going. That's what when I'm feeling down and when I'm feeling like, oh, I just want to cry in bed, right? Because I'm human, I cry. If there is one thing about me, I'm Cancer Moon, I cry. I'm emotional, right? I never used to cry. However, my friend taught me something is that, you have to cry. You have to let it out. You have to let it out. Understanding that if you're holding your emotions in, that's called trapped emotion, right? And that's creating blockages within your body. And that's creating blockages within you being able to receive the things that you want. So cry if you have to. I give myself max, like, if it's something really bad, I'll give myself, a couple hours. But you better believe that I'm not going to be doing that all day, the next day, the day after that. There's such thing as called self-pity, right? And I'm not going to sit in self-pity, because the only person that can change the way my life is going is me. No one's going to sit here and be like, Katie, it's time to get to work now. It's time to, show up for yourself today. It's time to actually go in and study. It's time to make a phone call today. No one's going to do that for me. No one's going to do that for you either, because no one should have to. No one should care more about your success and getting you to the next level more than you. If your mentor has to constantly call you, right, to motivate you, that alone is a problem. I pick discipline over motivation any type of day. Any day, I'll pick discipline over motivation. Because yeah, I may be motivated one day, but what about that next day that I'm not motivated? That's not going to get me to go to the gym. It's my discipline. It's the discipline that I'm creating within myself. The same way that Neno has that discipline when it comes to his morning routine, right? It's the same way that you should have the discipline when it comes to getting to know you, getting to understand you, getting to work on you. Neno should not have to be telling people, hey guys, you should do your morning routine because this is going to do this for you. You should want to do it because you should be wanting to be getting better. You should be wanting to be understanding, taking that time to understand, taking that time to quiet the mind. You guys understand how important meditation is? Meditation is number one thing that's probably saved me. Because yes, we're having thousands of thoughts going on throughout the day, but it's in meditating that I'm understanding truly, why am I having those thoughts? What type of thoughts am I actually having, right? Because let's say I'm going through a hard time. I need to sit down and I need to self-reflect. I need to see, for me, the minute that I start seeing something in my life is not going the right way, I tend to have to take myself and hold myself accountable too. I have to take, someone could have done you wrong, or, things may not be going right within yourself financially or things like that. But understand is that you're creating every single scenario as well within this right here. What is it that you're listening to? What is it? Are you taking the time? What is it that you're telling yourself? I used to tell my brother all the time when I would go up to him, I would be like, hey, do I look fat in this? The moment that I started to change my appearance was because I started going up to my brother and I would be like, hey, do I look skinny in this? I started even down to the things that I was saying, what I was asking. Why am I going to ask him if I look fat in something? Let's say, yeah, like, no. It's like when you're asking God, when you're even asking, like, understand, guys, the universe, God, they do not understand not. They do not understand the word no. You say, I don't want that to happen. It's saying, I want that to happen. Right? So taking the time to understand what it is and why my mind works the way that it has been working is what's been getting me out of that. Is understanding, hey, your mindset has not been on point, right? This is what's going on in your mind. This is why your external reality is the way that it is. Because every single thing that's going on outside right now, guys, is simply purely a reflection of what's going on in here. And it's a hard pill to swallow. Because everything that we're experiencing is what's going on right here. So taking that time to understand what is going on in here, that's why it's so important, right? So the reasons as to why, for my people out there who've experienced within the childhood, I know I was talking about from the ages of 0 to 7 is when our subconscious are mostly imprinted. So you might develop imposter feelings if your parents ever pressured you to do well in school. And I know that this was not only me, but I know there's a lot of people on here where your parents may have pressured you to do good in school, where they may have compared you to your siblings, right? That's something that it's happened to me, right? Whether they were maybe even controlling or they were overprotective. I don't know about you guys, but I have a Dominican mom. She was super, like everyone always says, your mom must be so cool because she's young. And then, no, my mom was like, probably super overprotective, like super controlling with what it is that, it took for me to go away to college to have a little type of freedom. Okay. So, another thing is you were emphasized on your natural intelligence, right? There's a lot of smart people on this call. If you as a child, if they were emphasizing how intelligent you were, that's something that can create this for you. That's something that can create imposter syndrome for you. Or you were sharply criticized for your mistakes. And now, when I started to see this, I checked every single thing of what happened in childhood. So believe it or not, you might or may not experience imposter syndrome. Okay. And even when it comes to academic success in childhood, that can also contribute to imposter syndrome later on in life. I don't know about your parents being super hard, but I used to hide my report card from my parents because unless I was getting, B's and A's, I was getting the C's and D's. I was not that great in school unless it was math. In math, I was an honor roll student, but when it came to history, I did not like history. And I did so bad in history. And that's something that, with the pressure of having to do so good in school, I ended up having to hide my report card, things like that. So when I was going through this, I was like, wow, a lot of what I go through now when it comes to imposter syndrome within this business makes a lot of sense. Even when it comes to my life overall, people know that I'm a self-love coach and this and that, but I even have imposter syndrome when it comes to my relationship. I mean, like, am I truly living up to my self-worth or my self-value? These are things that mess with your mind. So understanding where they're coming from is important, right? Because if not, you're going to feel like a fraud and you may end up working even harder, right? You may work even harder and it may not even change much of the self-image that you have of yourself, right? So acknowledging your feelings, right? Identifying that imposter feelings, the imposter feelings, bringing them up and out into light of day can accomplish actually several goals for you, right? Talking about it to a friend, to a mentor about the distress, like this is what helped me. I am so grateful, right? Like I was saying earlier, I don't complain down, I complain up. The two people that I've gone to and I'm so, so grateful for, Natalia and Darwin, them two, they probably know my whole life story. But why? Because I trust them. I trust them with the things that I'm going through. I trust them within knowing that they truly care about my success and they truly care about getting me to the next level, right? And each and every single one of you may have someone on here or a mentor or someone that cares about you enough that you can open up to and that can guide you the right way. Never feel like you're alone, because when I entered into this business, yeah, maybe I did not have the closest relationship with Nat, right? I didn't really have a mentor, right? Neno's my mentor, but not my mentor. So in a sense, like it was kind of discounted out for me because it's law of familiarities there. There's not going to be that much, but for me, it's like, I cared so much about my success. I cared so much about getting to the next level that guess what I did, guys? I started messaging people that I don't even know. I started messaging people that I don't even know. Top mentors, top leaders. And I encourage every single one of you guys to do this on here, is reach out to people that you don't even know, leaders that are your mentors as well, that you may not even know that you have access to, right? So challenging your doubts, right? Building in the connection and understanding that these things, sharing imposter feelings, can help feel less overwhelming. Opening up to peers about how you feel encourages them to do the same, helping you realize that you're not the only one who feels that way, right? Challenging your doubts. When imposter feelings surface up, ask yourself whether any actual facts support these beliefs. Because I literally had to sit there and ask myself, do these feelings that I'm having right now, does this support the belief that I'm experiencing? And the answer was no, right? Look for pieces of evidence and encounter it. Let's say you're considering hitting the next rank, but you don't believe that you got what it takes. Maybe like a little small mistake that you've made when it came to like doing a presentation, getting someone on a close, even when it comes down to trading, right? Maybe you over leveraged your account. Maybe it was your first trade, and since then you've been scared to get into a trade, right? You feel like, okay, I'm fooling other people because they don't know, right? If you're constantly receiving encouragement or recognition, guys, understand is that like it's so easy to feel as an imposter when that's happening, and your life is going the complete opposite way. When everyone's telling you that you're doing great and you're feeling like, okay, well, I just messed up on this, or that's going to be even more of a reason as to why you're harder on yourself. So understand, guys, is that you guys have what it takes. Understand that imposter syndrome happens to every single, like it happens to a lot of us. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, right? Avoid comparing yourself to others. Challenge those feelings that you're having, right? Everyone has unique abilities. You are where you are because someone has recognized your talents or your potentials, and you may not excel to every single task that you attempt, but you don't have to either. We don't have to be perfect at everything. Almost no one can do it all. Even when it seems like someone has everything under control, you may not know their full story. The same way this call, a lot of you guys did not know my full story and you thought, hey, she has it all together. Guys, I have it far from all together. But every single day, I'm just working on becoming a better version of myself, understanding why do I show up for myself sometimes in a different way, that I want to show up in a better way, and understanding why I can't, and being gentle with yourself. You don't have to have it all figured out, because guess what? We're all 90 of us on this call, we're all figuring it all out together. So being more empathetic for yourself. Okay, so the bottom line is that success does not require perfection. True perfection is practically impossible. So failing to achieve it is not going to make you a fraud. Offer yourself kindness. Offer yourself love. Self-love. Self-love is so important, and I'm always going to talk about it, because guess what? The more that you work on your self-love, right? It's like let's say you're vibrating at this level, right? And the things that you want are up here. The more that you work on your self-love, guys, guess what? You're now raising your vibration to match all of those things that you want. And like a magnet, you're going to attract it to you. So compound the self-love. Every day is not going to go perfect, but I choose progression over perfection any day. And that is it. That was the call. I just want you guys to, understand is that it's okay to feel this way. If you guys ever need any help with anything, you can always reach out to me. This is my Instagram. I don't know if anybody asked any questions, because I kind of looked away from the chats. I know. Here you go. I hope that I was able to help at least even just one person on this call, right? Julie, I don't know if you're still there, sis, but if anybody has any questions or anything like that, I'm open to answering any questions. Right. Okay. Did I unmute you? Okay.
Wow, Katie, you killed it. You killed it. I'm just amazed. I think that you definitely touched everybody on this call. That's what I'm looking for. Like that's what I want out of these calls, for everybody to know that they're not crazy. They're not crazy. Like I know sometimes it might feel like, am I the only one that's going through this? You're not going through this. We all go through very similar things. And that lack of self-love, of not being empathetic with yourself. I remember, Katie, I used to be somebody that I was all about, you gotta be strong, get over it. Like stop feeling that way. Like, why are you so weak? That used to be me. I used to be that individual. And then something happened. I don't know what happened. Something shifted in my life where I realized that I was holding so much emotion. And when life hit, it was like I hit rock bottom emotionally. And in my relationship, me and my partner, I'm with the father of my son. Okay, I just don't call him husband because there's no ring yet. But my boyfriend and I, we were going through it very, very bad, simply because I wasn't willing to be in the present moment, and I wasn't willing to just admit that I was going through a lot of things. I was just pushing it through, working. So what you said right there about self-love being a pathetic progression, over perfection. A lot of us we want to be perfect. Stop. Like we're all in this together. Like sometimes even, we're all doing ECX stores together, right? And I'm gonna bring this up because I've noticed this. Everyone is like, I feel so behind. I feel so behind. Like people in my team have told me that. I feel so behind. Or people that start trading in the beginning, I feel like everybody knows more than me. Well, of course, they've been here for longer. But nonetheless, it's your journey. Like we're all young. I don't care if you're 50, 40. We're so young, 30, 20. We're very young. We have our entire life ahead of us. So it's very important for us to listen to what Katie's telling us, to be nice to ourselves, love ourselves, and really just reach out to somebody, reach out to Katie, reach out to me, reach out to somebody, to be able to communicate and to be able to let go. A book that I recommend, Katie, as well, is called Happy Days. Happy Days. It's a book by Gabrielle Bernstein. Very powerful book that talks about the reason why people live in that imposter syndrome. So once again, Katie, I don't have any words. I almost teared up on the call because it's like you're punching me. So I appreciate you. I love you, sis. You're amazing. I know everybody loves you. Now they saw the real Katie. This is the real Katie. This is gonna be our chairwoman, okay? So I need you all to keep praying your prayers because she's amazing. I love you all. Next week we're gonna have another speaker. I still don't know if she's gonna say yes to this, but she's one of my best friends. I love her to death. She's been in this business with me forever, and she's grown so much in the past 2 years. So I definitely want her to share her story and what she's gone through and what she's been able to do. Nonetheless, I love you all. I'll see you next week. Let's make sure we have a phenomenal week, a phenomenal weekend. I love you all. Bye, guys. Have a good night. Katie, you can end it. I think you're host.